Hello, very nice to meet you all. My name is Cláudia. Like Ricardo said, I'm an immigration lawyer with Advogado-Estagiário. First of all, our law firm is a law firm that is specialized in several areas of the law. We are a national, we're one of the top 10 law firms in the country. We have a lot of clients, from national clients to international clients, and among the areas of clients that we have banks, we have financial institutions, insurance companies, and private clients as for the Golden Visa. Advogado has been awarded several awards in the last years. From 2022 to 2023, we were recognized as one of the leading law firms in Portugal by Chambers and Partners and the Legal 500. As you can see in the PowerPoint, you have a lot of rewards that we've received. So we're a very recognizable law firm in Portugal. The practice of our law firm is in several areas of the law, as we've stated. You have it on your screen. You can see sports law, banking and finance, and capital markets, transports and aviation, and obviously immigration law and foreign investments. That's what we're discussing here today. In our immigration department, we understand that the idea of moving or even the idea of investing in a foreign country is very difficult. It's a very long process and you need to think it through. Here in Advogado, we assist our clients with all of the process from the time that you choose the investment you want to do in Portugal until the time that you have your residency card. All the steps are covered by our law firm. We have a very multidisciplinary team in the immigration department. We are all fluent in English. We have colleagues that speak Spanish and English as well. We have colleagues that speak Russian and Ukrainian. So we have very multidisciplinary and very capable team in regards to assist you on obtaining the visa and the assisting with investment in the Golden Visa.
Yeah, I have to follow up on that because for sure one of the reasons, one of the things that stands out is that wherever you are from, wherever your language is, you'll most likely find someone here who speaks your language. Now, on to what most of you are here for. The Portuguese Golden Visa. Okay. So, well, what is the Golden Visa? For those of you who are still not familiar, most of you probably have already done your due diligence, your research. You are more or less aware of what the Golden Visa is, be it from the news, from news that you have read, from word that you have gotten from your friends, colleagues, and other people that you know. The Portuguese Golden Visa is an investment program which grants access to a Portuguese residence permit. It began in 2012, yeah, and well, we as a law firm have been on it since then, since the very beginning. It is aimed specifically at citizens from outside of the European Union or Schengen. So that is, it is not aimed at citizens who already have a European passport. So you make a specific type of investment in Portugal, which we'll talk about next, and you're granted a residence permit for that. It is one of various types of residence permits for Portugal, so we'll not talk about the other ones today, and it grants you access to various things, which I'll list in a moment, but we're hearing from one of our listeners that the sound is not good. Okay, let's see. Is it some sort of interference or is it too low? Oh, it's better now. Maybe I will just talk louder. Maybe that's the problem. Okay, perfect. So as I was saying, the Portuguese Golden Visa program, it's a type of residence permit. In the end, that's what it boils down to, and it grants you access to visa-free entry into Schengen area. Okay, so let's say that you are from a country, and from a third country, from outside of the European Union or Schengen, and to enter the European Union, you need a Schengen visa. Obviously, there are countries with passports which grant you visa-free access to the European Union and Schengen, but many others do not. And you know how bureaucratic and how lengthy it is of a process to acquire a Schengen visa before the Portuguese consulates or any other country's consulate in your country of origin. Well, after you get the golden visa, after you get the residence permit, no more of any of that. So you can enter freely without having to get a Schengen visa, tourist visa, business visa before, and you can travel freely throughout the Schengen area with your Portuguese residence permit. With it, you can live, study, or work in Portugal. Okay, so what it's implicit here is that you can you get all type of all the same rights as a Portuguese citizen, except political. You can live, you can study, so you have access to public education and healthcare, as well as the work market. Uh, the greatest thing about the golden visa, one would say, compared to other types of visas, is that you are not required to stay in Portugal for a minimum amount. You are only required to stay in Portugal 7 days per year. What this means is that after 2 years, once you go to renew your permit, you have to prove that you have been in Portugal for 14 days, so 7 days per year. And this is very easy, and this is a great advantage compared to other types of visas, of residence permits for Portugal, because all others require you to stay at least 6 months in Portugal per year. And nowadays, this is the greatest advantage of the golden visa. As we have mentioned already, visa exemption for traveling within Europe and Schengen area. You can bring your family with you, so it gives you access to family reunification, spouse, wife, parents, in-laws, children. There are, of course, some restrictions. For instance, if you want to reunify your parents, if they are below 65, you have to prove that they are dependent from you, economically dependent from you. And if your children are above 18, you have to prove that they are still economically dependent from you. Okay, and obviously you need to prove that they are still studying and that they are still single. So there are these kinds of exceptions here, but general rule, you can apply for the visa and bring your family with you. Your family gets the same visa and without the same minimum stay requirements. After 5 years, you are eligible to apply either for the Portuguese citizenship or the Portuguese permanent residency. Okay, so basically, greatest difference is that Portuguese citizenship gives you access to the Portuguese passports, and that allows you to settle anywhere in Schengen, European Union without time limits. Okay. In both of these cases, you have to prove a minimum knowledge of the Portuguese language. But from our experience and from the contact that we have had with our previous clients, this is nothing really to worry about much. How would we describe the entire process of the golden visa since the beginning until the end? First, there is an onboarding, so we meet with the client, we do all the necessary meetings, we clarify initial doubts that the clients may have, and then we engage. We engage and we tell the client the necessary documents in order for them to prepare them in advance. Something that is mandatory and that we cannot do without is the obtention of a Portuguese taxpayer number, the TIN, so NIF in Portuguese, and opening a bank account. The investment cannot be done without first opening a Portuguese bank account, and you cannot get a bank account in Portugal without the taxpayer number. So these are the two prerequisites for the entire process. The bank account is necessary because the investment must be done through the Portuguese bank account. And that is how the Portuguese state clarifies the legitimacy of the investment and that it is indeed complete. So then the bank issues a declaration That's what we use as proof of investment. After that comes the investment itself. We'll talk about the available investment options right after this slide. But yes, so you choose from one of the current 5. I believe there are 5, right, Cláudia? 5 investment options that are still left after the many changes that the golden visa has suffered, and then we do the investment. After the investment comes the online submission. There is a specific platform for this, and we submit your application through that platform, which belongs to the Portuguese government. A few months after the pre-approval, so they scan all your files, they make their due diligence, see that everything is well. The pre-approval, the online approval, we also call it, is issued. After that comes an invitation for you to come register your biometrics in Portugal. This is very simple, so it just involves, there's no interview involved. It's basically just to get your fingerprint, your signature, and your photograph, information that will be on the card, okay? And at this stage, we'll have to submit documentation again. An average of 6 months after that, you get the final approval, and well, we are invited. You are notified, or as your lawyers are notified to pay for the cards, for the card making fee, and 1-2 weeks after that, we get the card at our office. Or if in the meantime you have decided to live in Portugal, you'll get the card directly mailed to your Portuguese address. Okay. So these are the 7 main stages that we would identify from beginning to end as composing the golden visa process, the application process. Okay.
So you have, like Ricardo already told you, 5 different options of investment in Portugal with the golden visa. One of them is the creation of 10 jobs here in Portugal, and this you need to hire 10 people, and normally we tend to recognize that it's better if you hire 10 Portuguese people, so the government knows that you are in fact making an investment here in Portugal. Then you have the option of transfer 500K to an investment, to be applied to an investment or support for the scientific research. You also have the option of, and this is a donation, of 250K for a foundation or historical maintenance of cultural assets in Portugal. This is not a true sense of a donation, because you will not be gaining any how do you say you will not be receiving any return. Then you have the option of the fund investment, and this you need to invest 500K in a private equity fund or a venture capital fund, and this is for the capitalization of companies in Portugal. So this is normally the most secured option for all of our investments, is the fund investment. And then you have the option of opening or reinforcing a company. With this, you either open a company in your name, so it's a company in your name, and do an investment of 500K, or you do it, or you, and the company must be based in Portugal, or you do, in both cases, you do the investment of 500K, and you combine the creation of 5 jobs and the maintenance of 10 jobs. So it really depends. Normally, what the 4th option is the most procured option of all. Okay.
Yeah, that is very true, and you are probably wondering why is there no real estate option? Well, especially if you compare the Portuguese Golden Visa program with other programs from other countries which still have this option. The fact is that the real estate option did exist until I believe October last year. Yeah, so since 2012 to October last year, there was the option, the possibility of investing in real estate. It was restricted further in 2021 when it ended it was no longer possible to purchase real estate to invest in the golden visa in the metro areas of of Lisbon and Porto and the rest of the coast. I say for the golden visa because obviously as a foreign investor you could still and you can still buy a property in Portugal if you so wish. You just cannot use that to apply for the golden visa. There were political reasons involved. The reasons that the government at the time presented was that it was to reduce pressure on the real estate market in these big habitational areas because prices were going up. Well, we'll see because this was a measure that was put forward by the previous government, the previous socialist government, and just recently we have had elections in Portugal, and we have a new government. And this new government, as well as the third most voted for party, which they sort of align on the same side of the political spectrum, although the winning party is more towards the center of the political spectrum, they both agreed that the Portuguese golden visa did bring a lot of advantages to the Portuguese economy, and they are still both in favor, very well in favor of the real estate option. So maybe we don't know. That's something that we should consider in the future because there's a possibility of that option coming back on the menu. Claudia also mentioned a type of investment which really is more of a donation, which is the one which is done to preserve the arts and the museums and all of that. Yeah, funny as it is, it does not provide any return, but considering that it is the investment option, which involves the lowest amount, so it's 250K entry. That's the bottom. You can invest more if you desire. You can desire more. You can invest more if you desire. It's still relatively sought after these days. Obviously, not more than the fund option, which already existed before, and it was always the second most sought after option after the real estate. Now it is the most sought after option. Especially by investors from the Americas. They feel safe, relatively safe investing in the funds. How do we know? Obviously, with funds, there is always a risk factor involved. From our experience, we have never had any such case of a fund going bankrupt and people not getting any returns after 5 years. We usually cannot specifically tell clients to invest in a certain fund. That would not be correct for us as lawyers to do so. We're not investment financial advisors. What we usually do is we are very used to working with established funds which are established in the market and which we know are well run by people with a good track record. And usually we suggest 2 or 3 to the client, and then we let them do the talk. So because they better than us are more qualified to present their funds. And then the client sees which one seems better, seems more fit, which one will take his investment to a certain area of the market, of the economy. So we have funds that invest in agriculture, funds that invest in solar energy, alternative energies, renewables, aviation, research and development. So that's something that we leave to the clients, and you can diversify. So it's not like you have to invest the 500K all in the same fund. Some funds do have a minimum amount that they require you to invest in their funds, but then usually you can diversify. These days, opening or reinforcing a company, that's also good. Basically, you become a shareholder of a company, and well, you work with that. So basically, you'll have the decision power proportional to the amount that you invest, and you can more or less run things and control better your returns. We have a question here. Let me just, maybe it's good to answer it now. Which of these investments has return on investments, and how long does the investment has to remain in the funds? Okay, So from all of these five options, the only one which necessarily by the way it is structured and by the way it is designed cannot offer returns, it's number 3. So the donation which we have just talked about, because that is a donation, unless unless the entity which you are donating to is feeling very generous. we don't see why that would happen. There is no return on that. Okay, so that it's the downside to it being the lowest investment amount. All others have potential to have returns. The fund investment usually does have returns. From the top of my head, we've not seen any case of clients losing more than what they have invested. So usually when the fund liquidates, you get what you invested plus returns, and also opening the bank account, opening a company and reinforcing a company that grants you a margin for returns because well, you are managing the company, but that is dependent on you. Whereas with the funds, it is dependent on a managing entity. So the society, the company, which will manage the fund for yourself. Okay. Obviously, the number 2 as well, because even though it is investment in research and development and sciences, there are conditions that you can negotiate directly with the entities which you are investing in. So there's room for that as well.
So the process time of the golden visa, what you need to expect from year 0, you get to the point where you are submitted, you go to the biometrics, you have your residency card issued. From this date of your issuance of your first card, you need to stay at least 14 days during the validity of your card. Your card will be issued for 2 years. So during those 2 years, you need to stay at least 14 days in Portugal in able to renew it again. These 14 days, you can decide how you want to spend it in Portugal. You either spend it all together or you divide it. It's really up to you to decide how you want to do it. You can also spend more time, obviously. The years, what we have here is the year 0, where it's granted your residency permit. In year 2, you will need to renew your residency card. You have complied with the 14 days of staying in Portugal. In order for you to renew, you have to do 2 things. You need to comply with the 14 days in Portugal, and you have to keep the investment. We have a question here that says how long the investment has to remain in the funds. You need to keep the investment for at least the golden visa period, because in order for you to renew your card, you'll need to stay with the 14 days, so the timeline, and you have to keep the investment. So at least 5 years. In the 4th year, you get to the second renewal. And in this, you already spent 4 years in Portugal. In 5 years, because your first card is issued for 2 years, your second card is issued for 2, your third card is issued for 2. So 6 years already. Between your second card and your third card, because you have complied with the 5 years, you can then apply for either the Portuguese nationality or the permanent residency. The permanent residency, you do it with IMA, or what we called former CEF Immigration Office, and now it's a new entity, but it's the same. The permanent residency, you do it with IMA, and the citizenship, you do it with the conservatory that will accept your Portuguese application. The difference between 1 and 2 is that the citizenship will give you all the rights that are inherent of being a Portuguese citizen, including the fact that you can stay in any Schengen country. You can go to any of the countries that we as Portuguese citizens can go without a visa. You can vote. You can live in Portugal full time. You can use the the healthcare system, you can use everything. And the permanent residency, the difference is that you can only reside in Portugal. You cannot, with this permanent residency, go and stay in a Schengen country, like let's say Germany or Italy, or you have to be confined here in Portugal. Yes, you can. This is a document that will be valid if you comply with the timelines. Will be valid for all of your life, because you will be a permanent resident in Portugal, permanent resident, and you cannot lose this document, but you will not have all of the benefits of being a Portuguese citizen. And the fact is that both of these documents request the same type of requirements, namely the A2 level of Portuguese. And yes, you have, for the citizenship, it's a bit more difficult to prove the A2 level of Portuguese because it's a different declaration, but it's the same level as for the Portuguese. So at the moment, you can choose either to apply for the citizenship or to the permanent residency. So one of the things that our nationality law has just changed, it's very recent, and it's still some confusion about when the time starts, but our nationality law changed. And now, before, maybe it's better if I explain before. Before, the 5 years only started counting from the date of your first card. So if your card was issued today, then your 5 years would start counting from today, and not the 1 year and a half that you have been waiting for all the process to be to go through the several stages that we already talked about. Now, because of this law and because of this change, it starts counting from the day that you submitted your application. This is unfortunately not very well written in our nationality law, but we here at Caiado-Guerreiro, and we've seen it in several law firms in Portugal, that we believe that the time will start from the submission date of your application. So if you submitted your application today, it will start counting from today, 5 years, but you have, assuming, and this is very important, this 5 years is counting, but you need to have a residency card issued. If in 5 years you don't have a residency card issued, you'll not be able to apply for the Portuguese nationality. But if you have started application today, submitted it today, you have in 1 year and a half, you have your residency card, then it started counting from 2024 and not 2027. I don't know if, or 2026. This is a very important, this is very important for people that want to do the golden visa, because it will take time from your application. So every time, the whole process counts now, instead of you just starting from the time of the golden visa. So your waiting period also counts for the nationality application. And this is the big difference in regards to the nationality law and the golden visa law.
Yeah. That is definitely big news, because what we noticed before is that people were definitely reluctant to apply for the golden visa, because as soon as we told them, they would ask, how long does it take? I mean, from the beginning until the end, until I actually get the card. And reminder, as Claudia just said, the 5 years would only start counting after you get the first card. How long does it take until I apply, until I make actually from the moment I make the investment and apply until I get the card? And worst case scenario, because it happened during COVID, especially at the height of COVID, and things are better now. We would say 2 years, and then people were like, 2 years? No, that's too long. So I would only get the card after 7 years. I would only be able to apply for citizenship after 7 years. Then also the citizenship waiting time. But now this is something that still needs clarification, of course. But what the law says is that waiting time, provided that eventually you get the permit, and well, you are getting the permit, because as long as as long as you make a valid investment and you do not have a criminal record, we don't see why not. The waiting time is also counted towards the 5 years. So all this time that you are waiting from the moment of application until getting the card is counted towards the 5 years. So let's say that you would eventually be able to apply after 3 years after getting the first card. That's what it means, and like Cláudia very well explained. We have another question. Is the NHR tax regime still available, and how does it work? Unfortunately, the NHR did end last year, so we're currently in a transitory period. So of people, but provided certain conditions. So you would have to prove that you had tax residence here in Portugal for already end of last year. And it only does exist if memory does not fail me, but that's something that that I would, if you wanted, I would then forward you to a tax colleague. It will continue to exist into the future only for people who wish to relocate to Portugal and exercise an activity, a job activity, a profession which is linked with investigation and research and development, which falls under that category. So in generic terms, the NHR did end, but it does has this one exception. Also another question, what are other costs involved with the golden visa? That's a good question. Okay, so besides the legal fees of the lawyers that you engage in with, there'll be fees that you have to pay to the government. So you will have to pay for the issuance of the cards themselves. First of all, the first thing that you'll have to pay for is the analysis fee at the moment of the application, of the online application. Then after that, you will have to pay for the cards themselves, and then every 2 years you will have to pay for the renewals of the cards. Once you hit the 5-year mark, that's a different story, because you can either choose to go the permanent residence route or the citizenship route. If it's the PR route, it's one cost. If it's the citizenship route, it's another cost. PR is more expensive. Like Cláudia explained, the requisites, the prerequisites for these two options are the same, mainly being able to have a basic knowledge of Portuguese. So people would ask, why not just go for citizenship? Usually we find out that people go for the permanent residence. It's usually because they are from countries which do not allow them to have dual citizenship. So that's mainly the reason. Because when all is weighed, it's better to apply for the citizenship, of course. Okay. We had a slide ready for questions and answers. If of course we had left questions to answer towards the end, but we have been answering them as we go. So maybe we can skip this, of course, unless someone has any other questions. We'll give them a bit of time. There's another question. Do I have to pay tax on my overseas income, meaning the income that I get out of Portugal, here in Portugal? That will depend on the double taxation agreements that may exist between Portuguese and your origin country. Most of the times we find out that those do exist. So there is some sort of either a convention where both countries are part of, or a bilateral an agreement between both parties directly, and usually there is income that you have to pay taxes here, that income from abroad that you have to pay taxes here, but most of it that's not the case. There's another interesting question. After 5 years, can we only keep golden visa? So after 5 years, you can apply for the permanent residence or the citizenship, but you may choose to continue to renew the golden visa if that's what you mean. So that you are not obliged to go either to the permanent residence or citizenship. It just means that after 5 years of legal residence, which the golden visa grants you, you are able to do one of these two things, but you can continue to renew the golden visa, provided that you keep the investment, okay? Because if you go for PR, permanent residence, or citizenship, once you get either of those, you can scratch investment. If it's funds, well, the fund will most likely liquidate and you get your returns. If it's a company, you can sell your position in the company. You no longer have to maintain the investment. If you want to continue to renew the golden visa every 2 years and keep your standard residence permit, which is the golden visa, you need to keep your investment active. There's a small twist, which is funds are structured. They are built for a certain amount, after which they will liquidate, and the returns will then split between the investors. That time frame is usually proportional to the 5 years of the golden visa, because most people after 5 years they will want out. So if you invest in a fund and after 5 years, not 5 years, because 6-7 years, the fund liquidates, well, you'll have to make another investment. And good thing, it does not have to be funds again. So you can switch investments. It can be anything else. If you want to continue investing in funds, you just find another fund and you do the investment. Okay, so considering there are no other questions, I'll follow up with these next slides. Will just be information for you to be able to contact us and for us to be able to maintain talks after. If you found this webinar interesting, if you have any further questions, if you want to engage, you'll just be able to contact us, and we'll be sure to answer you as soon as possible. We can answer your questions by email, or we can also book a meeting if that's most convenient. Because that way, we usually we find out when we're talking by Teams, by Zoom, wherever, it's easier to clarify doubts than it is by email. As you can see, we are an international law firm, as we like to present ourselves. So we have offices in Portugal, in Lisbon. We're headquartered in Lisbon. We have offices in Porto, which is Portugal's second largest city. We have office in Faro as well, which is the Algarve, the most touristic part of the country. La Valeta in Malta. We have a very strong presence in Africa, mainly Luanda, capital of Angola, and Maputo in Mozambique. And obviously the Chinese capital of Beijing. We have a very strong presence in China. And finally, I'll leave this slide on for a couple of seconds for you to print screen it, for you to take a photograph if you want, or to write it down. These are our contacts. So our Lisbon office, our address, our phone number, and our general email. If you send an email to this address, it will be redirected to one of our own emails. Okay, so we hope you find this webinar enjoyable and informative. That's what we have tried to do. It was very nice to be here with you today. My name is Ricardo Silva. With me again, Cláudia Almeida Mendes. I'll pass the word just in a bit for her to be able to do her farewells. It was great to talk to you here today. Enjoy the rest of your day, depending on where you are watching us from. It might be morning, might be afternoon, but hope to talk to you again, very well soon. So, Cláudia.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be here today. I wish you had a great time and you liked our explanation. Please, if you have any doubts, don't hesitate to speak to us. And we'll see you soon.